So, we are discussing string, and in the last video lecture we have learned few aspects about string and the different objects of it, and how to instantiate string objects, and then different methods, simple methods which basically essential to manipulate strings. So, in today's lecture we will cover many more interesting aspects of string which basically makes your understanding complete. So, today we will discuss about some other additional methods. Those are there to handle strings. They are namely string comparison, how we can compare two strings, or how to create substring, how to search some part of the string in a string, and finally the conversion. This is very important because a data of any type can be converted to string. Also a string can be converted to data of any primitive type. So, these are data conversion, and what are the methods are there which are defined in class string will be discussed in this video lecture. So, let us first see string comparison. It is very important. This is because we have to check whether two strings are exactly same or not. Now, this kind of comparison is essential in many application development. So, that is why many methods are defined there. So far the two in order to compare two strings, the methods are basically here I have listed few important methods which basically you can consider to compare the string. You can compare two strings just giving one string as an argument and calling this method for the string for which you want to compare. You can compare without considering the cases, whether lower case, upper case, ignoring, or you can consider all changing into upper case and lower case. So, there are many ways the string can be compared. So, these are the few methods that we have listed here, and now we will discuss about how the different methods that it can work for any programmer in their programs. So, here is an example. We have to test using the equals method to compare two string. So, here text1, text2 and text3 are the three string objects that is created like this, and as you can see text1 and text2 are the same actually. Now, here we can just check it and see here equals text2 text1. Now, so this equals method is basically call for the text1, that means this one, and it basically compare this text1 with text2. The equal method returns true if they are equals, otherwise they return false. Now, in this case text1 and text2, as you see they are not same, so it basically return true false. So, as you see this return false. On the other hand, if we can you could compare again text1 and text3, text1 this one string and text3 this string, because the two strings are same, so it basically return true. Now, you can call this method alternatively text3 then dot equals text1 or text2 dot equals text3. There are different way you can write, and also you can compare text1 equals give some string here within double quote, that also will work, whatever the way you can check it. Now, so this is an example about how using equals method you can compare two strings and then you can get the results. Now, here is another programs. This basically we can compare, but we will compare, while we will compare we will ignore cases. So, equals method with additional features of ignore cases. Now, here we create few objects for our testing purpose, and then we call the different way the equal ignore cases methods, and if we run this program, so this is the continuation of this program. If you run this program and print it, and you can see this result, you will get it. So, you can run this program of your own and you can see the output, and you can convince yourself how you are getting output. And there are many more comparison methods are there, you can also apply them and you can check how they work in general. So, this is the comparison. Now, another aspects of this comparison method is very important. So, is a compare to method is also there. Here again few strings and we call the compare to methods. Now, here this method is different. so that it basically compared to with respect to Unicode character format. So that means actually every character in Java, you know, so here every character in Java basically stored in the form of a 16 bits Unicode like. So they basically compare with respect to Unicode. For example, here text1 and text2, these two strings as it is here, when compared, it basically return the results the 7. This basically results according to the Unicode formalism. Now if the two strings are equal, for example text1 and text3 as in this case, so text1 and text3, this string and these strings are same, so it returns 0. So this output 2 is 0 here. Now if two strings are equal, then their Unicode formalism, and if it is compared, it will give 0. On the other hand, here if you see text4 and text1 is compared in text4, it gives minus 32. Now actually the concept is that if they are basically consider about the lexicographic ordering. Lexicographic ordering means, for example, A, B and D. So this is the one string, and A, B, C. Now in lexicographic order, ABC comes before this one, but it follows there. If it is there, now if you compare this string with this string one, it will give negative, and if so they are okay. So positive it gives if they are in lexicographic order, but for example here ABC, when it is compared with ABC, this will return a positive, but ABC when ABD return compared with ABC, it will give negative, and ABD when compared with ABT, it will give 0. So this basically according to the lexicographic order formalism, it will give you whether a positive value, negative value, or is 0. In that way you can check that whether a string comes before one string or comes after string. So if it is a before string positive and after string is negative, that is the concept that you can think for. So this is the idea about that string comparison, how it works. Now let us consider another program to convince what I told earlier. So compared to here, actually compared to can be again with additional feature called ignore case, and then you can check that if you ignore the cases, it will give the for this output, and for this is the comparison that we have made here. So this way, so string comparison is useful in many applications, particularly when you have to write your sorting algorithms where the string needs to be considered, then you can think about these are the method that you can. Now let us consider about some other manipulation regarding the substring computation. Now given a string, we can check whether some substring is there, or we can extract some substring starting from a given index or in between some index and etc. So there are many methods regarding the substring computations, and then changing a part of the string and giving another string, all those concept it is there. I have listed few methods here like replace, split, and then starts with. There are many ways the substring can be computed, and here is one method as you can check, say substring integer begin index and end index. So you can understand that. So it basically for a given string, and it will retrieve you a part of the string of that string. So this way substring can be obtained also. There are many ways, there are different methods which you can apply to solve any problem which is relevant in order for the string manipulation. Now here is an example. So this is the substring demo. This is the string 1 input string, and substring 3, that means we want to create a substring starting from the third index. So starting from here. So as you can see, so starting means 0, 1, 2, 3. So starting from here actually, right? So starting from here, and then it basically gives all the remaining part of the string as an output. So as you see, this is the output for this method, and you can see we just substring return the substring which is stored in this new string object. So this is the one example. There is another example. It basically do the same thing, and okay, we can say the length. Okay, it should be substring actually. Text dot substring 5 and 14. So, it basically this is not correct, we should write a substring method here. So, 5 and 14. So, it will return the substring between the 5 and 14 in the input string actually. So, this the output you will get it. Now, searching of a part of a substring also may be interesting one operation that needs to be performed on many string objects. There are many methods in this for this purpose, that is already developed in string class. I have listed here. All these methods are self explanatory. I do not want to discuss explicitly all these methods here, and there are many methods. So, now let us see one example applying this substring concept that are the rather indexing concept. Okay. So, there is a method called index of, for which an argument is an input string, and this method can be called for a given string. It basically returns the index within the string of the first occurrence of the specified string. So, what is the idea about? So, suppose this is the string and this is the argument. So, we have to find the index from where this string occurs. So, this basically 0 to this one, as you see this is a 15. So, that means this string occurs at 15th index position of this string. So, this is the output. So, like this that many methods are there, and all the methods are easy to understand, only you have to apply and then practice, then you can understand the strength of these methods there. Now, this is another example, this is a polymorphic method of the index of method. So, here basically there are many occurrences of substring that is there. Here we have considered substring of only one character t. So, 4 onwards it will basically try to find if there are substring of this kind is there or not. So, this basically this is within 3. So, this is the 4. So, this basically print that okay, it is this t after index 4 which occurs there, it is 6. There are many r, but it will only print the first occurrence. So, if I say after say 10, then it will print this index of this t and so on. So, that is the method is basically to tell you the occurrence of a particular part of the string. Here again you can write with after 4. So, it will give, there may be many with as a substring, it will give the first occurrence of the string. And here again like index of, there is a last index of, that means it is just opposite one. So, t is starting from here, it basically what is the index of the last t from the beginning. So, it is basically 17 that it can print as you see it here. Okay, like there are many more methods are there. So, regarding the different ways the particular portion of a string can be accessed or it can be retrieved, whatever the idea it can be there. Now, this is the one important topics that is required to be discussed in detail. It is called the data conversion from string. I told you that string is one versatile for which it basically embed any type, whether any primitive data type or any other type also can be there. So, the conversion from a string to a desirable data type and vice versa is an important what is the concept, for which the Java developer gave many methods for the purpose. So, here are few examples that you can consider, and possibly you are already familiar to this method is parse int. That means given a string we want to parse or we want to convert the string value of this one. So, here parse int with radix also, radix means whether it is a decimal or octadecimal or hexadecimal. So, that also you can parse, that means from the given string we will be able to get the numbers in a particular radix form. And the parse double, it is just opposite to integer, that means if you want to parse the double value from a given string, and here is a parse float, from the given string we can parse the value of float, parse long. So, for all different methods, parse byte with radix, and then parse short. So, for all the different type of primitive data there is a parsing method. This means that from a given string we will be able to parse of any numeric data type. Now here is an example that we can think about. So here how we can convert string to integer demo. So here we just store this as a string. As you can see, this number is basically here in this statement 95 within double quote, it is a string, but if you write string number equals to 95, it is an error, because a numeric value cannot be used as an initialization, because the constructor cannot be created for an object of 95 like. Now here you see we call the parseInt passing this string number, and this parseInt method actually is defined in the class called what is called integer wrapper object, wrapper class. Wrapper class, you know, there are many numeric wrapper class, integer, float, where the first character is basically in capital letter. This basically wrapped an integer value into an object. So integer, float wrap a value into a floating point value like this one. Now here actually num, it basically this method parseInt method parse a string and return the integer value, because we call parseInt for an integer value. So it is like, and then we can use the obvious arithmetic calculation here, num plus 5. So 95 actually will be returned, and if the output will be 100, as you see the result will be 100. So this basically shows how from a string an integer value can be converted. Now likewise there are many examples that we can also follow here. So parse float, and here we pass the string, this string is here, this string is basically is a floating point value, and this parse float we call for the float wrapper object, because we want to convert the this basically here actually, you know, so this is a string but is wrapped into the form of a float object. So that is why we have to call the parse float method for the float object, for which number will be the argument as a string. Now this basically return a floating point number. Now so this num plus, again if we want to add this number or num with another floating point value, this is because it is just like usual a floating point numbers, and you can do it, and then output you will get it like this is the output. So you have learned about how the parsing is possible from the string to get the required input, required values in a particular type. So this is the different methods which is there. There are many methods I have already listed, so those can be considered and you can test with your own program. And this is the same example. Here we can see parse double, this is the number is the string, this is the double value, this is the double, and float basically same, only the 8 byte or that is the 16 byte that matters, because you can store as a double much more bigger number here, and this is the output that you can get, and this is the output that you can check it. So these are the data conversion from string to the number, numeric values. The opposite way conversion is also possible. The opposite way of conversion is possible. So it is basically data to string, where a data can be converted to a string type. Now let us see the different methods in this direction. These are the different methods which you can call, and the method is basically toString. toString is a very important one method which is defined in the string class to convert everything which is there in the form of a string. If it is already string there, it is always there. So but if you pass any value as an argument integer, for example here the integer will be converted to a string, and here float can be converted to a string. So any type of values can be converted to a string. All these conversion value is this method is basically called the toString method, is basically the method for the class, but it can be called for any type of object, because it is the super methods. Actually it is basically defined in object class object, and it basically implemented in all methods, all classes like string and other. So this way it is coming. Now let us have some example so that we can understand about this concept better, how this can be used. And there are few more methods also, value of. So is basically if we call some for a given string the value of and it is a boolean, it basically convert to the string. So they return the string representation of this boolean. So from the boolean value to string it will convert. So here different, here character to be string, here character data is a part of the portion can be represented in the string, a double can be converted the string, float value can be converted in the string, int, long and so on. Here object also can be converted in the string. This means that any type of value if you passed it will convert into the string, and this is an interesting properties that I will explain. So idea is that possibly if you declare any class, so this you can declare any class, let it be say class student. So suppose this is a student class you have declared, there are many members, some is integer, some is long, some is character arrays and many more things, some string may be. Now you can write a println method of system.out, possibly you have already checked, we have done it while we are discussing many collection, the entire collection also. Now so it is basically let S is of type student. Now if we print S for this, then this basically print the string representation of all the members which is there. So all integers, all the floating point values or other data types, whatever it is there, they basically converted to the string, and finally print L will basically change into to string representation and ultimately it will display on the console. So this concept is basically is there actually. Now let us see some illustration so that we can understand this concept better, and this is one example. Here string value of I, if I is an integer 20, so it basically S represents 20 in the form of a string, and I plus 10. Now here if you see I is an integer, 10 is an integer value because I is 10 here, and this plus is basically is a arithmetic operation. So in this case it basically 30. So the result is 30 and println will print this 30 in the form of a string. Println always convert into string because our argument that is required for the println is always a string. So this string is printed here as a this data output is printed as a string because it is converted. Now here S is basically string which is basically 20 and then concatenation 20. So 20 and 20 will be concatenated. So new string will be produced. So here basically 2020, so the result will be 2020. So this is the important property that you can think about how the string conversion takes place for any type of data. Now here is another example that you can see is basically floating point value. So value of, we convert the string and return a string, so we represent. So this basically 15.5, in this case this is basically the string representation of this value. Now here is a few more example that is interesting. So this is a integer number and here is a number we are printing in a binary, but here you see integer to binary string, this basically convert into the binary form and it will basically represent as a string. So here this is the input, the output will be this one, this is a binary representation of this one. But to octal string, that also you can do. So this means it will convert in the octal form and this is the octal representation of this number. And here also hexadecimal, this is the hex. So the value of the string can be converted into hexadecimal form and this is the hex form of the string. So from one type of form to another type we will be able to convert using this method. Now here is another example. This example shows the command line argument again, and as you see the number of arguments it is there, and here this is the important thing that you can check it about. So here the whatever the input that you pass to this program through this command line arguments, right, as an input, it basically parse it. Now in this case as we are parsing integer, this means it always expect that the argument should be integers. Now for this program will run successfully. It will basically print the sum of 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. So if you run this program with this input, it will run correctly, but if you run the same program with this input, it is error, because here integer does parseInt throw an exception as this is not an integer. Similarly, this is also throws an exception because this is not an integer. Now if you run this program with 1 2 3, it will pass, but it will stuck at here because it is not a string. But here if we give the 2 4 5 and 2 2 0, then it will run successfully. But if any one argument is not compatible with the parsing type, then it basically throw an exception. Now again this program you can modify by writing this program by float dot parse float, and this is the argument that you can pass here, and then you can run that. This will not pass, but this program will pass. This will not run because it passed although this one, but this will not pass. So there is an error. So that you can check and then you can run the program. So you can test it that command line argument should be compatible with the parsing of this type that you are calling for. Otherwise there is a type mismatch, and type mismatch means it is a exception error, IO exception. Now there are many more discussion that you can find in this book, and this is the document where the supplementary material you can get it, and this is the Oracle official website for further studies. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.